people to come on out and get closer. We're going to go ahead and do a little chant. I'm going to say, show me what democracy looks like. You're going to say, this is what democracy looks like. So here we go. Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Okay, keep doing it over and over again. This is what democracy looks like. 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 Cut! All right, very good, very good. So you'll have some of that throughout the program, and we're going to go ahead and begin to get started with a few preliminary things. In case you don't know who I am Mark Hayes. I'm the chairman of the it doesn't work anymore. I think, nope.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Hello, hello. Talk to him. I have no control. But it just quit. It just quit altogether. It's working. All right, I'm Mark Hayes. I'm the chairman of the McLennan County Democratic Party, and we are so amazed to see all of you out here today. This is one of the biggest crowds ever in decades with Democrats and progressives and supporters, and it is the greatest collection of our speakers, are the greatest collection of progressive leaders in Waco in decades. So this is an exciting moment for us, and got to get away from that other microphone, and we are just so happy. I want to introduce somebody. So this is Mary Mann. She was our party secretary. You'll see her a lot on stage. She may even talk to you a little bit, but wanted to introduce her. She is absolutely my right-hand woman, and in all the work we do in the office, and we're really proud to have her on our team. Admin announcements. I think most of you noticed that in the back there, the t-shirt sales are in back. T-shirts are still for sale. Those help pay for the cost of this event, which is the most expensive event we've ever done. And also we have voter registration, and there are tables from some of the county parties and organizations. So check all that out as the thing goes on. Why are we here? So normally, this time in the cycle would be the quiet time. This is when you have the big election, and win or lose, you kind of sit back and monitor the Congress and the legislature and the courts as they deal with the new administration. And our part, which is elections and voting, really doesn't come on too strong until a little bit later, like in the summer. So this has normally been kind of our break. But what's happened this time is really beyond anything we can imagine. We are here because our Social Security is in danger, our Medicare is in danger, our veterans benefits are in danger. President Trump has turned over most of the powers of the United States Congress to the richest man in the world to do whatever he wants to with. And it really amounts to a takeover of our government and a change of it to something else entirely. You know, when we started this country, I would say that Britain was an oligarchy. It was a country where nearly everything was controlled by a very wealthy class. They had a king who still had quite a bit of power. And we designed this place to be not that. We have 3 co-equal branches of government. They're supposed to be independent. And that is done very intentionally so that no one person or no one small group of people can take all the power. And what's happening now is they're trying to take all the power from us, from our representatives. And as it stands right now, in the political situation we're in, the U.S. Congress, the courts are pushing back a little bit. The Congress, controlled by the Republican Party, has given away its power. The courts are pushing back a bit, but with the Justice Department no longer acting independently to enforce the law, they are being ignored in some cases. People are being snatched off the street with no due process. Just somebody in law enforcement says we need to grab this person and send them to life in prison in El Salvador. They can just do that. They can just snatch people. Right now they're doing it with illegal immigrants, probably most of the time, except when they make a mistake and then say they can't fix it. But they're talking about doing it to you. So the only way we're going to turn this around is if we, the people, you, me, all these little local organizations, stand up and peacefully, stand up and peacefully say no. If you don't do that, we cannot sit at home in our living rooms and wait for somebody to protect us. We have to stand up and say no, and it begins right here, and that is why we're here, and that is what we're going to do. So, and this is just the beginning. This is the beginning, the turning point in Waco and Central Texas. We're going to stand up against what's happening and do something about it. We're going to protect the United States Constitution. When I served in the military for 22 years, I swore to do that. I didn't consider it to be something I did while I was employed by the military. I consider it to be something that I would do for my entire life. And that's what each and every one of you needs to do, is stand up and defend the United States Constitution. All right, that's enough talking from me. I'm not really who you came here to hear. We're going to go ahead and start our program. And if you would all rise, if you're able to, for the national anthem, which is going to be brought to you by the Barbershop Quartet, Lon Bailey, Gary Morton, Andy McDonald, and Gary Holmes.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
All right, everybody. We're going to, now, we're going to have something very special. We're going to have Lift Every Voice and Sing. Many people consider that the African American national anthem. It is one of the most lovely songs that I've ever heard. And if you'll remain standing for that, we're going to have the Cedar Grove Baptist Church praise team under Brandon Hubbard sing Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea.
Okay. Would you like to come on down to the event there?
Sing a song full of the hope that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us.
Facing the
Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. We'll keep marching, fighting till the victory is won. Hold your head up, brother, till the victory is won. Keep believing, sister, till the victory is won. Till that day comes, let us march on till victory is won. Is won.
That was wonderful. Before we go ahead with the program, we're going to recognize a few people that are visiting us today. We want to recognize Constable Freddie Cantu, who's out here helping with the event today, Clinton County Constable. We want to recognize Constable John Johnson. And those are Democratic elected officials, party officials. We want to recognize our two SDEC representatives, and that would be Bart Ewald, our committee man. That's the State Democratic Executive Committee. Is Bart here? All right, thank you, Bart. They help us every day. And then Donna Wright, who is our State Democratic Executive Committee woman. She's somewhere around here, too. There she is. Fantastic. I know that Tom Hansen, who's been a tremendous help to us all the time, he's our former SDEC representative, and he is somewhere around here today. Thank you, Tom. Is Mary Duty here today? She could not be here. Well, Mary could not be here today, but she is my immediate predecessor, and I can tell you that she served as Democratic Party chair during difficult times, and there would not have been a party to build up like it is today if it had not been meant for Mary. So give a cheer for Mary. In addition to those already listed, we have Peaches Henry from the Waco NAACP. Is she here? Susan Chris, Judge Susan Chris, Vice President, Texas Democratic Women. Yay, yay. Cheer for them. The Texas Democratic Women, if you don't know about it, they are the backbone of the Texas Democratic Party. When I go to a Texas Democratic Women meeting, I usually see all of our volunteers. It's the same people. Mary Ho, past president of the Texas Democratic Women, is here. Heather Herman, board member of the Texas Democratic Women. And you'll see her later in the program, but Judge Lucy Ann Sanchez Miramontes is here, and she, in addition to being our Justice of the Peace, is president of our local Central Texas Democratic Women. And we are honored to have Tracy Fisher, who was a candidate a couple of years ago for State Board of Education, and now is co-chair of Grandparents for Public Schools and past candidate, as I told you, for State Board of Education. Cheer for Tracy.
Don't forget Charlie's invitation.
Who?
Charlie's invitation.
Yes, I won't. So that's enough VIPs for the moment. We're going to have our invocation next, and we'll start our program. And we will recognize some more VIPs at a later break. I want to introduce Reverend Charlie Garrison, who will give the invocation.
Please have him hold there for a minute. Hold.
God, whom we know by many names. We, the people of the United States, gather today raising our voices on behalf of immigrants seeking new beginnings, on behalf of women striving for equality and empowerment, on behalf of LGBTQ+ individuals embracing their truth, on behalf of people of color fighting against systemic oppression, on behalf of non-Christians expressing their faith without fear, as well as others who have found meaning in life outside of religion. Grant us the courage and commitment to dismantle barriers, challenge discrimination, and cultivate a society where every voice is heard and every life is valued. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, keep us forever in the path, we pray. Amen.
This is Kelly Blake and I are walking into the
I know a lot of you are ready for Congressman Chet Edwards to speak. And he'll be here in just a second. But before we do that, I want to talk about a special guest that's here. Congressman Nick Lamson is here. And he was a warrior. He's right there at the beginning of this era where the Republicans started to step away from the normal way of doing things and decided to redistrict in between the normal redistrict times, specifically to try to get rid of Democrats. And Congressman Lamson fought a battle down by Beaumont, Houston, Galveston area, and resisted it, and can be kind of credited with driving Tom DeLay into retirement. But if he'll come up here for a second.
Thank you, Mark. You gonna give me a couple minutes? What a pleasure to come to McLennan County and see such a fabulous crowd. Congratulations, McLennan County Democratic Party, for what you're doing. There's a sign here that says, "No King." And I read something this morning that says, "Crowns crack when voices are heard." We're hearing voices today. Tyrants hide behind those crowns and act like bullies. And when they do, it's the people, we the people, who stand up and fight back, and our voices are heard, and crowns crack. What a pleasure to come to the home of Chet Edwards, my longtime friend and former colleague in the House. It's a thrill to come and watch, Mark, what you have done with your party. I hope that we can copy that in Jefferson County and all through the rest of the state of Texas. You're the heroes, not the crowns. The people are the heroes. Stand together, shoulder to shoulder, and fight, and crowns will crack. Thank you for letting me be here.
All right, now we got to catch up a little bit. I'm going to introduce Judge James Lee, our Justice of the Peace here in McLennan County, who will introduce Chet Edwards. This is a wireless mic for the YouTube.
Good afternoon. Oh, no, y'all still asleep. Good afternoon. Oh, y'all in the back, I can't hear you. Good afternoon. All right, all right.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm acting like I'm DJing up here. I'm trying to take his spot. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing a man who has shown what it takes to fight for Americans. One who remained loyal to the Democratic Party, even while facing adversities along his political journey. Nah, he didn't jump ship like somebody else. Yeah. A man who is no stranger to representation, as he has served in the Texas Senate from 1993 to 1991 to 1983 to 1990, and then went on to serve as United States Congressman from 1991 to 2011. That's service. That's right. He is one that never took his constituency for granted, whereas he worked with local representatives from both sides of the aisle for many years to ensure the needs of our communities were met. I recall many times he and my deceased father-in-law, former Commissioner Lester L. Gibson, conversating about the needs of our communities. Together, they were able to achieve common goals and many political successes. Now, I don't speak with him daily, but I know he is still serving in many capacities. Please don't get it twisted. Don't think he's just sitting at home twiddling his thumbs waiting on the next chess game. That's not him. Never will be. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it's time that I introduce a man who will be speaking next. Standing in the blue corner, reigning from Waco, Texas, by way of Corpus Christi, Congressman Chet Edwards.
Thank you so much. Thank you. What a great crowd. Great crowd. Thank you all very much. Thank you, and I love you. The most important thing I want to say today is that your presence here makes the most eloquent statement, the most powerful statement that will be made today. Thank you for being here and having our voices heard. Judge Lee, thank you for your kind introduction and more importantly for your public service every single day for our community. And I know my colleague and friend Nick Lampson was introduced, but I will tell you, as long as I live, I and my family and all of us will owe a debt of gratitude, because I can tell you firsthand, Nick Lampson is the person in announcing against Tom DeLay that ran Tom DeLay from public office, and that was a great service to our country, and we're better because of it. You know, for those watching, we here come from all walks of life. And we come with differences on specific issues. But our strong common bond that unites all of us today is our deep commitment to our nation's democracy and the fight to preserve it. And that's why today is so meaningful. We the people. There's a reason our founding fathers chose those three words to begin our Constitution. Not the Congress, not the President, not even the Supreme Court, but we the people. Because they understood we the people are the bedrock foundation of our democracy, and it's time for our voices to be heard again. Now, while I was elected at 30, I'm old enough to try to put a few things in perspective. So let me go back in history. August 9th, 1974, 51 years ago, President Richard Nixon resigned in disgrace in the wake of his enemies list and his disrespect for the rule of law. After taking the oath of office, President Gerald Ford said this, and I quote, "My fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over." Well, my friends, I could have never dreamed that 51 years later, you and I would wake up to the nightmare of another president with an enemies list and who disrespects the rule of law. President Trump has directed the Department of Justice to investigate his so-called enemies, whether it's the free press, members of Congress, universities, former employees, law firms, and others. Instead of fighting inflation for working families as he promised, President Trump is carrying out a revenge tour against all those who would be a constitutional check and balance on his power. That is disgraceful, and it's dangerous.
President Trump's assault on democracy and our country's future, in my opinion, is more far-reaching and more threatening than even the crimes of President Richard Nixon so long ago. And we, the people, cannot and we will not be silent. We will not be silent about what President Trump is doing to our democracy, our economy, and our American alliances across the world. For 28 years, with deep gratitude to you, the people of Waco and the citizens of Central Texas, I had the unbelievable privilege of representing us and serving in the Texas Senate and the U.S. House. Let me speak honestly with you. I know firsthand that government is not imperfect, and those of us who serve in government are not imperfect. But it is up to us to remind our fellow neighbors and citizens, government is not inherently evil. It is not. It is inherently imperfect. It's inherently imperfect, but it is crucial to our way of life and even our free enterprise system. I know, you know that government should not and cannot try to solve every problem. But just imagine for a minute if you would, our families and neighbors' lives without Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Just imagine for a moment what our home, Waco, would be like without I-35, Lake Waco, the Waco VA Hospital, and loans and grants to students at Baylor, TSTC, and MCC. Government is not our enemy. If we go back to 1981, while I respect what he did in standing up to the Soviet Union, and he deserves respect for that, President Reagan said in his first inaugural address that, quote, government isn't the solution to all of our problems. It is the problem. Over the past 44 years since that speech, a lot of Republican leaders, not all, but a lot, have evolved from not only preaching that government is the problem, to government is the enemy, that somehow the deep state is aligned against everyday hardworking Americans. And we need to understand that growing cynicism toward government over the past 44 years made it possible for a gilded billionaire like Donald Trump to be elected president. For middle class working, I agree. For middle class people working hard and struggling to get by over the last 20 or 30 years, working 2 jobs for less income often. This cynicism was what allowed a man to get elected that would have never gotten elected at any other time in our history. And while this is hard to believe, the polls show that working families actually came to believe that he cared for people like them because he was going to go after this evil enemy, the deep state. And I can tell you from my own 15 personal campaigns that the single most important poll question in any poll I ever took was not how I was doing against my opponent, but does he care for people like me? To my fellow Democrats, and I agree, I don't think he does. But to my fellow Democrats, I want to say, as we rebuild, we have to find a better way to communicate with everyday citizens that we in the government truly care about them. We do, all of them, hardworking people who work in our factories, our grocery stores, our restaurants, our farms, urban, rural, and suburban. These are all good people from all religions, all faiths, all genders, all races that are working harder but falling behind, and they just haven't felt the government and Democrats are on their side. And we've got to do better selling that message that we do care. Now, there may not be a lot of them here physically today, But I want to speak to my Republican and independent neighbors who voted for Donald Trump, people whose votes will determine the outcome of future elections. We need to speak to them. And this is what I would say to them if they were here. I can understand your frustrations with government, and yes, at times with we imperfect Democrats. I know we're far from perfect. But it is okay to say that Donald Trump is not doing what he promised you he would do. Chaos, tariff taxes, and disrespect for the rule of law will not make America great again. To all of us, after decades of growing cynicism toward government, it is important, I think, including today, to remind ourselves what the role of government really is in our country. Don't take my word for it. I can't think of a better source of the proper role of government than the preamble, the first words of our Constitution. Listen with me to these words. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution, the United States of America. Meaningful words. That is the vision our founding fathers had for the role of government. Well, let's look at President Trump's term in office. What he said and done, I agree. Let's look at President Trump's record in light of the standard, of the high standards set by our founding fathers in the preamble. To begin, we the people of the United States. Well, we the people, the bedrock foundation of our democracy, we voted in 2020 to elect Joe Biden as president. And he was elected. But President Trump did not respect our votes or us. He tried every way he could, from not just inflaming an angry crowd of insurrectionists on January 6th to invade our U.S. Capitol and stop the counting of electoral votes, a process that led to 140 police officers being put in the hospital and 5 of them giving their lives. Trump also called election officials in Georgia and Michigan to try to stop the counting of the people's ballots. Donald Trump was the first president in American history to disrespect the peaceful transition of power. And in doing so, he disrespected you and me, we the people. So on the standard of we the people, Donald Trump failed. The next words, in order to form a more perfect union. In the U.S. House chamber where Nick and I serve, often when we have contentious issues, I look up at the ceiling, and etched in glass is the American eagle. And in its claws are these words, our national motto, E pluribus unum. And I reminded myself, we are from many. Yes, we are a land of diversity. We are from many, but from many, one. Great presidents, such as Abraham Lincoln, have famously reminded us to have malice for none and charity for all. Lesser politicians find ways to divide us, to forget our common bonds and focus on our differences. Lesser politicians call the free press and those who would disagree with them enemies of the American people. You know, Americans with different viewpoints, we are not each other's enemies. We are fellow Americans. We are a union. And by the way, our founding fathers knew we were not perfect. So we should not try to whitewash our nation's history. It's wrong. You know, our founding fathers realized our shortcomings. They knew, including slavery. But they challenged each generation, you and me, to make of us a more perfect union. And in doing that in each generation, expanding the constitutional rights from a few privileged white male landowners to all Americans from all backgrounds, to me, that is what has made America a great and a good nation. In my book, real patriotism is not the old bumper sticker that some of us have seen, the slogan, America, love it or leave it. To me, real patriotism is America, love it and make it better. And that's what you are doing here today by your presence. So for a more perfect union, President Trump has failed us. The next words, establish justice. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but you know what? It does not take a lawyer to understand that calling the January 6th Capitol police officers thugs and pardoning the insurrectionists who tried to overturn a free and fair election has nothing to do with justice. You're right. Having the president personally direct the Department of Justice to go after individuals, universities, and even law firms, that has nothing to do with establishing justice. And let me say, denying any individual, whether it is Abrego Garcia or you and me or our neighbors, the right to due process before being shipped to a horrible prison in a foreign land has nothing to do with establishing justice. On establishing justice, President Trump has failed. The next words, ensure domestic tranquility. I can be brief here. The daily chaos and division of the Trump administration makes the Keystone Cops look like a well-oiled machine. It is self-evident on ensuring domestic tranquility. President Trump has failed. Provide for the common defense. President Trump has actively undermined and insulted our NATO allies and our other allies. He's insulted those who we have worked with and fought with for 80 years to protect our nation, including NATO, which was created by General Eisenhower and has kept us for 80 years, 8 decades, from knowing a World War III. There is a big difference. There is a big difference between America first and America alone. And on the common defense, President Trump has failed us. Promote the general welfare. I'm not sure where to even begin on this one. Maybe I should just painfully say, when you go home today, look at your 401k for your family's retirement security, or your children or grandchildren's college education fund. Let me just summarize. Number one, the deepest plunge in the stock market in the first 3 weeks of April since 1932 in the Great Depression. Devaluation of the U.S. dollar by 10%. Consumer confidence at a historic low. Number two, putting Elon Musk Mr. Chainsaw and Mr. Cheesehead, in charge of cutting programs for Social Security, the VA and veterans, Head Start, emergency FEMA aid, and food assistance for starving children abroad and hungry children right here at home. Number three, undermining the most respected universities and university research programs in our country. One of the greatest single competitive advantages our nation has. And fourth, the Trump tariff tax. That is one of the largest tax increases on small businesses and consumers in American history. It's not even close. On promoting the general welfare, President Trump is a failure. Securing the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, those are important words. President Trump might say he supports the Second Amendment, but I think he's forgotten about the First, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendments. President Trump doesn't like a 60-minute segment on him. He suggests CBS should lose its broadcast license. President Trump doesn't like the clients of a law firm, so he threatens their very existence. He doesn't like his former federal employees saying the 2020 election was not fraudulent and not stolen, and the president directs the Department of Justice to investigate that employee. Let me ask you, is it now a criminal offense to say that the 2020 election was not stolen? If so, Elon Musk and Doge better build a lot of new prisons, because there are going to be a lot of us in it. Threatening people's and organizations' right to free speech and due process, they don't protect liberty, they threaten it. Having checks and balances on the executive power is a fundamental principle of our Constitution. It is the reason we rebelled against King George III. So on securing the blessings of liberty, President Trump has failed us. To my fellow citizens, Republicans, Independents, and Democrats, don't listen to my word. Just judge President Trump by the words of the preamble of our Constitution and the role that government should have in our great country. Finally, let me say, if you look at autocrats and would-be autocrats, they want we the people to feel powerless, to lose hope. We the people cannot let that happen. And with your presence here today, you are not letting that happen. What can we do to help protect our democracy? Well, you're doing it today. You're making an important statement with your presence here. But we can't stop here. We can't feel good about this march and go home and feel good. We've got to keep speaking out, let our elected officials hear from us, and on every election day, we've got to exercise the right to vote, for we the people truly have the power in our democracy. Let me finish on a very personal note. One of the greatest honors I had, and you gave me the privilege to represent you in Congress, was to work with our military men and women and families and our veterans. For over a decade, until just recently, I had the privilege and the honor to be the co-chair of the Arlington National Cemetery Advisory Committee. Every time I visit those hallowed grounds of Arlington, I feel inspired and humbled. Inspired by the sacrifice of those Americans, and humbled by the question of how can we live a life worthy of their service and sacrifice. We cannot match their service or the sacrifice of those who are buried at Arlington National Cemetery. But I believe we can honor their sacrifice for our nation, for your family and for mine, by exercising our voice as we the people of the United States. And with your voice, we will be a better country, and we will overcome this nightmare represented by President Donald Trump. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
I sure wish that Chet was still our congressman. In my money, he was the last real congressman we had. we got to move ahead. Next, we're going to have Donna Wright, who is not only our SDC committee woman, she's also Precinct 80 chair and the president of the local Mothers Against, or Greg Abbott, or Now for Democracy. So here's Donna.
Moms do heroic things every day. All the months of pregnancy, the birth pain, feeding and soothing and dusting off pants. And then, as each milestone happens, moms let go. Moms let go so the child can roll over or walk down the street by themselves or enroll in college or choose a life partner. As someone who has been a mom for a few decades now, I can tell you, we moms just keep on letting go. But while we moms keep on letting go, we also keep on doing all that we can to make sure our children and our neighbors' children are safe and able to live the best lives they can in this, our country. Yes, moms do heroic things every day. It doesn't take much, though, for a mom to be a shero. Just notice that the governor of your state is doing things that makes life worse for your children and your neighbors' children. He's a criminal! Then make a sign protesting that governor and stand in front of the state capitol with that sign. And then welcome others who want to join in also protesting that governor. And before you know it, so many people have joined in that you need to start a Facebook group and you call it by the words you put on that sign. Mothers Against Greg Abbott. And then so many more have joined that you need to form a nonprofit and recruit leaders for local groups all over Texas and get regional groups their own Facebook pages and open up this movement to mothers and others from other states. Yes. And then you need to change the name because your work is about so much more than just being mothers and others against Greg Abbott. Although, wasn't it delicious to be MAGA the Good? So your group becomes Mothers for Democracy. And you keep on doing heroic things, coming up with grades for Texas legislators, A through F. Ours got Fs. Developing award-winning ads, inspiring this mom and grandmom to get her butt off her couch and become more active in McLennan County and Texas state politics. And inspiring so many other mothers and so many others to join in this movement for democracy that began not a few years ago in Austin, but actually over 250 years ago, when the mothers and some others in those 13 colonies realized how much they wanted a better present and a better future for themselves and their children. No kings. Democracy. I am honored to introduce the heroic mom who noticed that Texas Governor Greg Abbott was not making life better for us or for our children or our neighbors' children. The founder of Mothers Against Greg Abbott, now the head of Mothers for Democracy, Nancy Thompson.
Thank you so much, Donna. I mean, that was quite the introduction. I don't know how I can follow that up, but I'm going to try. So thank you so much. My name is Nancy Thompson, and I'm the founder of Mothers Against Greg Abbott and Mothers for Democracy. And you all are an amazing crowd. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe how many people are here today. So I need to put my water down. Give me a second. Okay. All right, let's get started. I'm so happy and honored to be here today because I really want to talk about a particular topic that is something I've been thinking about lately. And here it is. Who counts as we the people? Do you know? I don't know. My 11-year-old son, Brooks, he's back there hanging out. My 11-year-old son, Brooks, came home from school recently where they were memorizing the preamble of the U.S. Constitution. And he stood there, you know, proud and serious, and he recited it for my husband, Howard, and myself. We the people. 3 words, 3 small words that crackle with power, that thunder with promise, that launched a nation, not for kings, not for aristocrats, not for corporations, and not for oligarchs, but for all of us. For we the people. But today, But today we have to ask a question that should take us to our core. Who do they mean when they say we? Because somewhere along the way, certain people in power decided that we the people doesn't include all of us. It doesn't include civil servants who stand up for corruption. It doesn't include native-born children of immigrants, because apparently the wrong parents makes you less American. It doesn't include legal immigrants who dare to speak their mind. It doesn't include former government officials who tell inconvenient truths. It doesn't include students, thinkers, dissenters, professors, writers, and dreamers. And now, just this week, we learned that it doesn't include independent judges. Yeah. Somehow, we the people keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. By accident. That is with purpose from Republicans. Yet, we the people is how the Constitution begins. And those words, that bold universal opening, was written by a man named Gouverneur Morris. You might not know his name, but you know his words. Morris was a founding father, a statesman, a visionary, and if Lin-Manuel Miranda ever runs out of Hamilton material, Gouverneur Morris will make one spicy musical, trust me. This man had a wooden leg, a scandalous love life, and no time for tyrants. He was not perfect, but he was unforgettable. More importantly, he believed not just in independence, but in union. A single nation, one messy, diverse, beautiful people. He gave more speeches at the Constitutional Convention than anyone else. 173 in total. And honestly, he would have been killer on Twitter. Hashtag Founding Father Flex. He fought fiercely for religious liberty, for your rights to believe or not to believe, without government interference. He stood up loudly against slavery when many others stayed silent. He stood up when there was a secret plot, the Conway Cabal, and when they tried to remove George Washington from command. Morris was the tie-casting vote to save our revolution. That is who we come from. That is what our Constitution was built on. Yeah. Yes. So how dare anyone today shrink the definition of we the people to a privileged few? How dare they? How dare they rip the pages from history and redraw the boundaries of belonging? Because let me tell you, if your America only includes people who look like you, pray like you, think like you, then your America is not one Governor Morris wrote about. And that's the truth. So it's time that we all need to stop asking who belongs and start declaring we all do. So who belongs? Who belongs? Who belongs? That's right. We the people means all of us. We the people, we count. We matter. And if this country is to mean anything at all, then we the people must stand up for each other. It is all of us or none of us. All of us or none of us. Great. So today I'm going to ask every single person here today. It is time for all of us to rise to the occasion. Let's organize. Let's fight. Let's build a balanced government where we the people means what it was always meant to mean. Okay. Thank you. Let's build a stronger Texas Democratic Party, one that Governor Morris would have raised his glass to. That's right. And knowing Governor Morris, he probably would have started a fight. Just saying. Okay, because it's better to fight fascism amongst friends than to fight it alone. So, let's look around. Here we are, with friends fighting fascism. And I'd much rather be with all of you than be alone at home watching Netflix. So, after we leave here today, we must remember that we need to go home, we need to organize, we need to rise, we need to reclaim, and we need to reclaim we the people. Thank you so much.
So we're going to move right on now to, I'm going to introduce Ann Claire Anderson, who's a prominent attorney and one of our precinct chairs, and she will be introducing Wendy Davis.
First off, anyone here from Precinct 1? Any of my peeps here, please, somebody? You know what that means? I got to do a better job. And I will. Okay. Our next speaker is a true Texas hero. She is right up there in my political pantheon of greats with Ann Richards. You know who I'm talking about. Wendy Davis is a former Texas state senator, attorney, and lifelong advocate for reproductive freedom, education, and equality. for anybody who's new to this or wasn't born yet, she rose to national prominence in 2013 after a 13-hour filibuster in defense of abortion rights. She inspired a movement of activists across the country that continues today. A Democratic nominee for governor in 2014 and a continuing voice for justice. Davis is also the founder of Deeds Not Words, an organization dedicated to empowering the next generation of women leaders. Saying they can't hear it? I'm going to keep going. If you can't hear it, I'll walk amongst you.
No, we can't hear anything. The mic's not working.
Okay, I'll hold it closer. It is my great privilege to hand the mic to Champion for Texas Women, Wendy Davis. Hey, everybody! Hello, hello! Hello, hello, hello! Oh my gosh! I needed this. I needed you. Thank you all. Thank you for showing up today. That's my favorite thing to talk about, showing up. And goodness knows, we need to show up in this moment. And we need to show up in a way that gathers us in community at a time when we are feeling so much anxiety. I was talking to my friend Beto back there a minute ago. And we were sharing with each other that in our political careers, this is a moment of the greatest anxiety we've ever felt. And I know that you're feeling that way too. That terrible feeling of knowing that people are hurting across this country and across the world as a consequence of a dictatorship in America. And I've been doing what sounds like a lot of our previous speakers have been doing. I've been spending some time thinking about the history of this country, the formation of our democracy. And I went back to the Declaration of Independence when Thomas Jefferson and others wrote down the reasons why they were separating from the crown. And the basic idea and ideal that they had and that we share, that everyone should have the right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. And that a government should be one that governs through consent of the people. And in this moment, we do not consent. You know, I'm a grandmother and a mother, and my heart is breaking right now. For the children that live in other parts of the world who were once kept fed and given the medication that they need to keep them alive, and who are literally dying in this moment because of one man and his evil heart. And to that, we do not consent. We are watching as our liberties are being torn bit by bit. This is not the America that we know and love. This is not the America that Thomas Jefferson and our forefathers built. It is not America when people can literally be taken off the streets and shuttered away into jails and prisons because we don't like what they are saying. And to that, we do not consent. This is not the country upon which we are founded. When women are having our rights stripped away from us bit by bit, day by day. There are women dying in Texas and elsewhere because those rights have been taken away. And it's not only that we are losing lives, people are losing their fertility, it's that we are losing what has allowed us the opportunity to be equal and to contribute in every way to society, the economy, politics. We are part of what makes Texas and America great. And to having our rights stripped away, we say we do not consent. I am a huge supporter of public schools, and I know every one of you is too. And Donald Trump and Greg Abbott are doing everything they can to destroy our public education system. And we know why they're doing it. Because they don't want our children to be educated. They don't want our children to understand what they are doing and to question. They want us to be educated, to be blind sheep to what they are trying to do. And to that, we do not consent. Now, I know you all have probably been feeling like I've been feeling lately, which is a sense of powerlessness. What can we do? What do we do in a moment like this? Protest, organize, speak up, show up. Absolutely, I'm hearing all of these things that you are saying. Move them out. And you know, when I think about the people that stood up in times that have been hard and who have fought with courage and tenacity, I think about the fact that so many of those people are Texans. It's in our blood. It's who we are. And we can show the way for how we do that. Because we are the descendants of Barbara Jordan, of Willie Velasquez, of Ann Richards, of Cecile Richards, of Sarah Weddington. All great Texans who showed us that if we have, that's right, so many great women, if we have the courage to stand up in moments like this, we can make the change that we want to see. And I had the privilege of experiencing that firsthand in June of 2013, when thousands of people came to the Texas Capitol because they'd had enough and because they decided that they would show up, they would speak up, they would stand up against an injustice. And that moment in our history taught us everything we need to know, which is that if each and every one of us will just own our responsibility, our place to be where we can be, to speak where we can speak, to stand where we can stand. One by one, by one by one, we become the great power of we. We the people. We the people. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for deciding that you're not going to sit quietly as people's lives are destroyed, as our liberty is taken away, as the promise of this country is suppressed, and that we together are going to stand together, fight together, and reinvent and realize the dreams that our forefathers fought for and made available to each and every one of us. God bless you all. God bless Waco. God bless Texas. And God bless these United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We do not consent. No, we don't. That was wonderful. Another big hand for Wendy. All right, James Tallarico is not going to be able to be here today. He let us know that he's involved in some negotiations over some potentially very damaging education legislation in the Texas House. So he will be not here today, but we wanted you to meet the man that was going to introduce him. Albert Hunter is a Meridian ISD school board member, and he, as many of you remember, was also our candidate for state representative in District 13. This is a wonderful part of our party. We're proud of Albert. We want you to hear him, have him speak to you. Come on up, Albert.
What a great day. What a great day for we the people of democracy. Okay? My name is Albert Hunter, as Mark has already mentioned to you, and I stand before you as a proud American that believes that democracy is worth fighting for. Okay? We need to fight through peaceful protest and providing factual information. Together, today, we come together in a show of solidarity for the rights of free men and women. I was supposed to introduce James Tallarico. Okay? I was very honored to meet this young man, okay, in Johnson County, Texas. Jim Garvin from Johnson County, part of the Democratic Party up there, called me when I was running for House of Representatives, and he says, you got to come and meet this man. You've got to come and meet this man. So I came up there. He is absolutely wonderful. He is absolutely wonderful. Okay? I was blown away by his knowledge, his passion, and his commitment to do what is right for all Texans. Not just the Democratic Party, but the independents and the Republicans, and for our children and women of this great state of Texas. James is a former public school teacher. He is a graduate of the University of Texas at Austin. Okay? Hook 'em horns. Okay? He's also a graduate of Harvard University. Okay? He is currently a student at the Austin Presbyterian Seminary. Okay? In addition to all these education endeavors, James is proudly serving us, okay, as a House of Representative member. He was elected in 2018. While serving as a legislator, okay, he fights against the Republicans' efforts to ban books, whitewash the history of our curriculum. He's fighting to help keep from gutting public education. And we all know that public education is that voucher scheme that they're trying to pass off as, yes. And he's also fighting to keep Christian nationalism agenda out of our students and curriculum. He fights for all Texans. I stand with James Tallarico in his fight. He would have loved to have been here today, but he had to meet in Austin with some legislation that's trying to come out with public education. And I want you all to know that he has a lot of podcast media presence out there. Listen to him. Support him. Because he's fighting for each one of us here today. He's fighting for our future. He's fighting for our kids' future. He's fighting for women. He's fighting for men. He's fighting for each one of us. We need to support him. So if you will, okay, even though he's not here today, let's give him a round of applause for his efforts in the Texas House of Representatives. Thank you.
All right, and James Tallarico will be top of our list. He'll be here sometime soon. We'll be going on to this to other things, and he'll be the first one we invite. There are some people who wanted to lead some chants. We're caught up enough to where we can do that for a couple of minutes. Where are those people?
All right, y'all, this one is pretty fun. All right, Sorry. All right, can you hear me? Great. All right, here we go. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. Come on, no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. Keep it going, no Trump. No KKK, no fascist USA, don't stop, no Trump! No KKK, no fascist USA, make him hear you, no Trump! No KKK, no fascist USA, 4 more times, no Trump! No KKK, no fascist USA, 3 more, no Trump! No KKK, no fascist USA, twice more, no Trump! No KKK, no fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK, no fascist USA. Not today, baby. Come on. Woo! Yo, I am a Wacoan. I work at Lorena High School, and I am seeing what is happening to the education system, y'all. And I am so proud to see you out here fighting for what's right. I love you so much, Waco. Never stop fighting. Come on.
All right, so we're going to go ahead, and we're going to have, once again, Lucy Ann Sanchez Miramontes, our Justice of the Peace for District 5, and also the President of Texas Democratic Women of Central Texas, to introduce Vicki Goodwin.
Hello, hello. Can the people at the top of the hill hear me? All right. We want to make sure you can hear me. Again, I am proud to serve McLennan County as Justice of the Peace Precinct 5. I want to add that I am your only Hispanic female GPA ever in the history of McLennan County. Thank you for your votes. Thank you for your support. My constable, Fred Cantu, he had a couple of his deputies with him, so I want to say thank you, and please, you know, midterms are coming up and that's our re-election. Remember our names. But I want to give a shout out. When I became president of TDW Central Texas, my first thought was exactly what we're seeing here. We got to get the people together. We, the people, have to unite. So I want to give a shout out to all the people that have welcomed me to their counties and have invited me to come and help unite us, turn the tide. Turn the tide, y'all. You know, the blue wave is still happening. Do not lose hope. Your presence here today shows that we are working and we are networking and we are building right here in Texas. I want to give a shout out to Coryell County Dems, Bosque County Dems, McLennan County Dems, and I met some new friends from Sun City, Georgetown. Thank you again so much for y'all all making the drive out. So it is my pleasure to introduce Vicki Goodwin. She is whoop it up, that's right. Vicki Goodwin. She is a Democratic state representative, serving Texas House District 47, which includes parts of western Travis County. She was first elected in 2018. She's a small business owner and a real estate broker. She has a background in public policy and state government. Ms. Goodwin has championed legislation to focus on public education, mental health, and community safety. This includes a Natalie Cox Act and Katie's Act. She holds degrees from the University of Texas and the LGB School of Public Affairs, and she lives in Austin. Again, give a big, warm welcome to Vicki Goodwin.
I may just take that out of there. Good afternoon, my friendly Texans. It is so good to see such a large crowd coming out because of your concern for our country and our state. So I am a state representative, and I ran for the first time in 2018 after Trump was elected the first time. Y'all might remember there were a lot of us who came out of the woodwork saying, oh my God, what just happened? And guess what? There were 12 of us Democrats who flipped seats that cycle. That made such a huge difference in the Texas legislature. My first session was the most collaborative session I've had so far. We called it the Kumbaya session. We actually got some things done. We actually collaborated. We actually cooperated. It was a bipartisan session. Since then, it's gone downhill. You know, 2021, the next session was the elections session. I don't know if y'all remember the Democrats who fled the state, went to Washington, D.C. for 30 days. I was one of them. You know, we tried as hard as we could to stop the election bills that would make it harder for people to vote. We couldn't stay in Washington, D.C. forever. And so when we came back, they rammed those bills down our throats. They ran over us. But you know what? We are smart and strategic. There was one bill that made it harder to vote by mail. Now you have to put a number on the back of the envelope. But I said, you know what? That's a bad bill. We can't kill it. We don't have the numbers. But what we can do is we can amend it. And so guess what I added to that? Now, if you are pregnant and you're about to have a baby just before or just after the election, you can vote by mail. That was my amendment. I know, kind of a small thing, but every little bit matters. And when y'all show up at the Capitol, it matters. I have people all the time saying, does it make a difference when we come to the Capitol, when we tell our story? And I say, absolutely, positively, it does. So last session, I did get Cotty's Act passed. It was a drowning prevention bill. That took 2 sessions to get passed. I also got Natalia Cox Act, which is a violence prevention act, passed. So my 3rd session wasn't altogether a loss. It was not too bad. This, my 4th session, is horrible. It's not going so good, y'all. You know, vouchers, which is the governor and lieutenant governor's #1 priority, will take $1 billion away from our public schools and send it to private schools, and it's wrong. And I know if Representative James Tallarico was here today, that's what he would be telling you about, how hard he and Representative Gina Hinojosa and others, Representative John Bryant on the Public Education Committee, have worked so hard to stop that bill. And when it became evident after the governor spent millions of dollars in the Republican primaries against his own party members, it became evident this was going to be really, really tough to keep from passing. So we thought about how can we make it less bad. So ultimately, we were hearing from people all over the state, including Republicans, including independents, Democrats too, who do not want vouchers. They don't want public dollars going to private schools and defunding our beloved public schools, which are the backbone of so many communities, right? We heard from them and we said, you know what? If you think, Governor, this is such a popular issue, let's put it up to a vote of the people. We had that amendment. We had that amendment, and we worked hard behind the scenes to get the necessary Republican votes. But then you know what? The governor says he has line item veto power for the budget. So you member, your park that you want, that's in the budget, I can line item veto that if you don't vote for my bill. That museum you want, that library, that park, whatever, the water project you want in your district will be zeroed out if you don't vote for my voucher bill. That's the power the governor has, and it's too much power. But we still had enough Republicans up until the day of, and guess what the governor did? He reached out to President Trump. President Trump called the Republican caucus that morning and he told them, you vote for that voucher bill with no amendments or you're not coming back. And so guess what? They folded. They folded and we didn't get that amendment added on. And you know what? Why would that hurt anything? Why? Why not put it up to a vote of the people if you're so sure this is what Texans want? Because they know it's not what Texans want. So obviously there are a lot of other issues. This session being my 4th, I used my seniority to get on the Appropriations Committee. And you know what? They are not just trying to defund K through 12. They are trying to defund our universities. So in the hearings, I kept hearing university after university president coming up and telling us, please don't take away our institutional enhancement funding. Since it's my first term on appropriations, I asked, what are they talking about? Well, guess what? The governor sent a letter to these universities saying, you still have too much DEI, and we are going to take away your funding. I have something to tell the governor. We live in a pretty diverse state. And you know what? When you support people from all backgrounds and you help those who haven't had the same opportunity, it just makes the state more successful. Why in the world would you take money away from successful universities? But it's not just Texas. It is Trump and Musk cutting funding for research. Research that has led to cures for cancer. Research that has led to medication that is very necessary for people with all kinds of illnesses. And guess what? Now that that research is being cut, will we find a cure for ALS, for MS, for all the different diseases that we have these days? Not good. So, being a realtor, one of my focuses is on housing affordability. Is that an issue here? So I have a couple of bills that I think would be helpful. One is the Fair Rent Incentive Act. So if a landlord is charging fair market rent, which is determined by HUD, the Housing and Urban Department, which you can find that number online based on number of bedrooms, based on zip code, based on the idea that you should not be spending more than 40% of your income on rent and utilities, then they would have an assessment cap on their property taxes, only if they're charging fair market rent. That would have downward pressure on rent prices. It would allow renters to be able to not spend all of their money on rent, to save, and one day be able to buy a home. Isn't that the American dream? I have another bill. It's the Homes for Heroes. This is a program that exists in Texas, but it's very underutilized. It's meant to help our first responders, our mental health workers, to be able to get lower interest rate loans and a little bit of help with their down payment. It's meant to help more people get into homes. Doesn't that sound like a great program? Simple bill, let's just expand who qualifies. That bill and my Fair Rent Incentive Act are languishing in committee, but guess what? We did already pass a sales tax exemption on exotic game, because that'll help a lot of people, right? And we also said we are not going to tax people who are making money off stock trades in Texas. What are we doing in the Texas legislature? It's not great. It's not great. And I heard Cecile Richards' name brought up earlier. We tried to do a memorial resolution, a memorial recognition in her honor, right? Don't we try to honor the dead who have done a lifetime of work to help people? The Republicans wouldn't let us do that. So there's not a lot of tools in our toolbox as Democrats when there's 62 of us and 88 Republicans. So sometimes we do have to pull out tools that we really don't necessarily want to have to use, but that's what we have. And one of them is joint resolutions need 100 votes. They are constitutional amendments. They don't have enough votes without us helping them out on those, right? And there's some things they want to do with some joint resolutions. And so last week, we white lighted. It was a decent resolution. It's something we would have normally said yes to, giving a property tax exemption for families who have kids who are Downs or autistic, who have disabilities, meaning they will always live at home. So, of course, who would disagree with helping those families out? But we white lighted it. We were present, not voting, so they wouldn't get their 100 votes. And boy, did that make them mad. So guess what? The next day, instead of being, let's think about what policy is going to help the citizens of Texas. Like, that's what we ought to be doing as servant leaders in the Texas House. What are the policies that will make people's lives better? No, instead, it's all based on retribution. So after we white lighted their bill, they killed every single Democratic bill on the local and consent calendar yesterday, Friday. I mean, so what are we gonna do? We killed every Republican bill on the local and consent calendar. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is the Texas legislature. I just wanted to give y'all a little taste of what it's like in the Texas legislature. And you know, I do a lot of thinking. I think all the time, how can I help the people in this state? How can I help my constituents? How can I make people's lives better? I've been thinking a lot, and sometimes I think out loud. I think we have the worst lieutenant governor in the country. And I think, man, somebody has got to run against Dan Patrick for lieutenant governor. And sometimes I think, well, maybe I will do that. Y'all are wonderful, and you give me hope, and I love you, and y'all have a wonderful day.
All right, I think some of you have been waiting for this moment. I'm going to have Jeremy Davis, who's a member of our school board and one of the strongest Democrats we have in our party, to come up and introduce Beto O'Rourke.
Good afternoon, McLennan County. My name is Jeremy Davis. I'm a school board trustee for Waco ISD representing District 1. What a powerful moment it is to be together, not just for another rally, but for a cause. For a cause rooted in a belief that democracy still belongs to the people. A cause rooted in the truth that our communities deserve leaders who will fight for every voice to be heard, every family to be seen, and every child to be valued. I'm a proud son of this county, raised by two pastors who taught me that faith without works is dead. And right now the work we're called to is unity, it's courage, and it's organizing around the values we know to be right. As a school board trustee, I see every day how public education is under attack. But I also see the power we have when we stand up, when we speak out, and when we stay true. Our kids deserve strong public schools, safe communities, and leaders who will fight for them even when it's hard. That fight doesn't stop at the schoolhouse door. It extends to every part of our community, our neighborhoods, our roads, our jobs, and our future. And that's why I'm committed to serving our county in an even greater way. I'm proud to announce that I will be running for McLennan County Commissioner in Precinct 2 in 2026. Because no matter the opposition, no matter the challenges, we have to stand firm in what's right. We persevere, we preserve opportunity, democracy, and a hope for the next generation. And that fight to stand firm, even when the odds are stacked against you, is something our next speaker knows about better than most. A fourth-generation Texan, a former city councilman, a small business owner, and a congressman, and the founder of Powered by the People. He spent his life proving that when you lead with courage and conviction, real change is possible. McLennan County, Texas Democrats and friends, if you're ready to keep fighting for Texas, if you're ready to protect our democracy, then help me welcome a true leader, former U.S. Representative Beto O'Rourke.
All right, how's everybody feeling? I just want to tell you that it feels so good to see literally each and every single one of you. You could be doing anything else in the world right now, with your life, with your family. You could succumb to the temptation to despair at this incredibly trying moment in our lives and in the life of our country. But instead, you made the decision to be here today. unless this is just where you all hang out on Sundays anyhow. Sun City Retirement Center, under these trees up here. The students who demand action, who are right back here. Our friends who are Democrats. And let's all agree on this. If you're a Republican, if you voted for Donald Trump, if you don't see the world the same way that I do, we are still glad that you are here and you're welcome among us right now. We are going to build the biggest, broadest coalition this state, this country has ever seen. It does not matter, no me importa, where you were born, whether you're 5 generations a Texan or whether you got here 5 days ago. Democrat, Republican, Independent, to whom you pray or whether you pray at all. How you love and who you love, that is your fucking business, not mine, right? All that matters is that you are here and we are together. They are trying to defeat us with hopelessness. This blizzard of bizarre behavior that is raining down on this country and on the ones that we love day in and day out. To the veterans that I just said hello to, 83,000 jobs are proposed cut at the VA. Most of those cuts will be to veterans themselves, to those who paid into Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, every working day of your life. They want to take away what you have paid for and what you have earned. And whether or not you are an immigrant, and let us remember at one time or another, those who preceded us were immigrants coming to a country of asylum, of refuge, and of salvation, which is what makes America the great place it is today. Whether or not you're an immigrant, all of us must stand together with those who are being targeted, who have their constitutional protections removed, due process absolutely annihilated under a law passed in 1798, the Alien Enemies Act, that has only been used in the War of 1812, in World War I, in World War II. How proud of you are your use of that law when we interned Japanese Americans as though they were alien enemies within the United States in World War II? We are doing the same thing to our fellow Americans right now, and they are waiting to see whether we will submit and surrender or whether we choose to stand and fight. Ladies and gentlemen, I choose to stand and fight every single time. They want you to think that you don't have any power. And the argument is pretty damn seductive. Remember, they've got the White House. They have a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court. They have the House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate. The wealthiest people on the planet are on their side, spending god-awful amounts of money to purchase elections and outcomes and legislation and the future for your kids and mine. But I'll tell you what we have on our side. We have the power of the people. And never sleep on the people of America. And let me give you an example. In 1965, 60 years ago, almost to the day, not in an election year, just like this is not an election year, we really understood the power of the people. For more than 75 years, up until 1965, this country did not have free and fair elections. We were a democracy in name only. If you were black, you lived in the state of Texas, or Alabama, or Louisiana, or Mississippi, or Florida, or any of the others of the former Confederacy, you could not register to vote. That is, unless you could count the number of jelly beans in the jar on the county registrar's desk, or pass that literacy test that they would be the judge of, or recite the Mississippi State Constitution word for word. At the end of '64, after the first president from the state of Texas, Lyndon Baines Johnson used all the political capital at his disposal to pass the Civil Rights Act. There was a meeting in the Oval Office between President Johnson, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Andrew Young. And Young and King say to President Johnson, Mr. President, we will forever owe you the greatest debt of gratitude for what you have done for this country. Ever since the end of Reconstruction, nameless, countless Americans have struggled, have served, have sacrificed their very lives to realize this moment, and you, Mr. President, you made it possible. But, King says to Johnson, with all due respect, now we would like to vote. When you go to a city like Selma, Alabama, the majority of those who live in that community in Alabama are black. Not a single one of them, Mr. President, is on the voting rolls today. You have the power to change that. And Johnson says, gentlemen, I hear you. I feel you. You are right. And if I could, I would. But I used it all up on civil rights. There's nothing I can do. I just don't have the power. As they leave, a dejected Young turns to King and says, well, what do we do now? And King responds, we go out there and we get this man some power. Over the coming days and weeks and months, the end of 64 into 65, everyday Americans, and listen to me, people like you and people like me, we took to the State House steps. We melted down the switchboard at the Capitol. We wrote to the president. We did everything we could to reach every single person who had the ability to make this change until you get to the 7th of March, 1965, when a 24-year-old John Lewis, taking his life in his own hands, begins to walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, and beaten within an inch of his life because he had the courage of his convictions. And thank God the press was there, not the enemy of the people, but the best champion this democracy has ever known. Those images, that film is broadcast across the country, transmitted around the world. It shocks the conscience of America. It galvanizes this country into action. Within 8 days, the 15th of March, LBJ is able to convene a joint session of Congress on the issue of voting rights. And this is what he said, paraphrased by Beto O'Rourke. Ladies and gentlemen of the House and of the Senate, as it was at Concord in Lexington, as it was at that courthouse in Appomattox in 65, and he could have said, as it was on those beaches in Normandy in June of 1944, so it is today that everyday Americans are willing to lay down their lives for the liberty and the promise that we have offered to ourselves and the rest of the world. And you have the power to grant it. By that summer, LBJ is able to sign the Voting Rights Act of 1965 into law, creating, for the first time in American history, a true multiracial democracy. We the people, not the politicians, not those in power, we got voting rights done. And think about this. That achievement, and everyone that came before it, and everyone that came after, is now under attack. And it comes to our generation. Think about the litany. Concord, Lexington, Appomattox, Normandy, Selma, Waco. 2025, our great-great-grandchildren will be reading about this moment, wondering what we did during this test, during this trial, during this time of clarifying truth for our country. They will read about all those who preceded us, and they will read about us. And they will ask their teacher, ma'am, let me see if I can get this straight. So this guy, running for president, promised to be a dictator on day one. He said that immigrants are poisoning the blood of America. You could lift that line out of Mein Kampf or out of the mouth of Adolf Hitler, for that matter. And those motherfuckers still elected him. Is that what you're telling me? Then, once he gets into office, everything that was laid out in that blueprint of Project 2025, they went to work. And they took that wrecking ball to this country, to our institutions, to our democracy, to the Constitution, to the rule of law. And I cannot wait to read the next chapter. What did the people of 2025 do? Think about this. The eyes of history, our kids and grandkids, the conscience, our Creator to whom we must answer at the end of this life, all are watching us at this time of truth to see whether or not we will be found wanting. And so, no pressure, Waco, but this one is on us. And if you think about it this way, how goddamn lucky are we to be alive at this time? The generations that fell in between those that LBJ and I just cited, I mean, they did their part. They were great Americans too, but they did not have the chance that you and I have at this moment. And so let me ask this of you. I know that we're not in an election year, just like it wasn't an election year in 1965. The last thing I'm going to ask you to do is wait until 2026 and hang all our hopes on the candidates and the parties and the elections and the ballots that will be cast in that year, though of course all of that is important. What I'm asking from you at this moment is that you do all you can with what you have right where you are. And yes, it begins or continues with showing up here today, but then it flows through to this week. You find a way to get together with your friends, your neighbors, your family members, your classmates, your colleagues. You take the time to talk to that person who voted for Donald Trump and find out why and invite them into this coalition and this movement. You go to the school board meeting, to the county commissioners meeting, to City Hall. You speak up at call to the public, and you, in your own voice, from your own heart, with your own words, you tell your fellow Texans why this moment matters so much to you. And I promise, just as John Lewis did 60 years ago, if we keep doing this, trying with all that we have, we too will shock the conscience of this country, galvanize America into action, and overcome this great challenge before us. Are you with me in this fight? Then let us be with one another together until we win. Thank you, Waco. Le agradezco. Gracias. Thank you.
He's never going to give up, and neither are we. So while I'm talking, I want Kelly McDonald to come up on the stage. And while we're waiting for her to come, I'm going to recognize some more people. Kelly McDonald needs to come to the stage. So we have with us here today Kaylin Page, a big hand for her. And we have Jennifer Murphy-Vick, SDEC committee woman. Terry Garner, chair of Navarro County. Larry P. Davis, Hunt County. Delania Sims, Van Zandt. Gerald Spurbeck, and Michael Fladmark. Yay! Call our people. What's her name?
Sarah Whitaker, Kaufman County Chair.
And Sarah Whitaker, Kaufman County Chair. And Jeanette Jacoby, Milam County. Kay Parr from Parker County.
You got me.
I got you? Okay.
Susie Stansel from Rockwall.
Susie what?
Susie Stansel from Rockwall.
Susie stands for Rockwall County.
I think we missed anybody, but you might have.
I'm sure there's more. Is Kelly up here yet? Come here, Kelly. So Kelly has been overall committee chair in charge of planning this event. It's an amazing effort. It would not have happened. Don't leave yet. You've got another speaker. But real quick, she's going to talk about the sponsors of our event.
I am?
Yes, because I don't have that list.
I don't have that list.
Well, we want to really thank Peter and Marjorie Colgan and all the folks that donated money to the event. Now, I want, if you are, I think I'm just going to introduce Kendall. Kendall Scudder has been recently elected as our Texas Democratic Party chair. And believe me, he is a breath of fresh air. I've had experience with him for several years. And he is a progressive, but he is not a progressive that is going to come and tear things down. He's going to come in, keep the best parts, fix it, and lead it to a more aggressive stance. Kendall Scudder believes that places like Waco, Texas are just as important as Houston, Texas, or Dallas. We are not going to be ignored with Kendall Scudder. As a county chair, every time I've needed something, he's always been on the short list to get an answer or help, and he gives it immediately and tirelessly. So I want to invite Kendall Scudder to come up on the stage and end the program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hi, how are you? What's happening, Waco? I grew up in East Texas with two brassy mamas that are tougher than a $2 steak. And they taught me to never walk away from a fight worth having. This fight, the fight we're waging today to preserve our democracy, is the fight worth having. And make no mistake about it, this fight is not one that is left versus right. It is a fight that is top versus bottom. The richest man in the world is in the White House right now, gouging you, working people, of the opportunity to succeed, gouging you of every social safety net that was put into place to help you succeed in your life, and guarding every dollar for himself that he can. Their greed knows no bounds. The greed of these billionaires will never stop. It will gobble every penny out of the pockets of every veteran. It will gobble every penny out of the pockets of every teacher. It will gobble every penny out of the pockets of every working man and woman in this country if we do not stand up and fight back against the oligarchy that has their boots on our necks. Donald Trump didn't just push through the largest tax increase that we have seen on middle-class families in my lifetime, but his cohort, Greg Abbott, just pushed through a fundamental dismantling of the Texas public school system. Coupons for rich people to send their kids to fancy private schools, paid for on the backs of you and your kids at the expense of their futures. I come from a family where my granddaddy had to share a pair of boots with his 5 brothers and walk to his public school on roads that didn't exist. They were cattle paths. The only world where someone like that has a grandson that becomes the chairman of the Texas Democratic Party is through the Texas public school system. The billionaires know this. They know this, and they don't want you or your kids to get education. They want to keep them uneducated so that they can keep their wages low and keep your kids in factories and on assembly lines and on farms and not give them the same opportunity you had to uplift yourself up, to work hard and achieve the American dream. They are selfish, and they are going to pick your pockets until you step up and say enough is enough. You understand that because you're here today. And if you are a Republican here today, I just want to be honest with you. I'm not asking you to admit that you're wrong, and I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you to admit you were lied to. I'm asking you to admit that the billionaires did what billionaires do. They exploited your labor. They preyed on your fears. They drug you around to try to make a fool out of you, and we're here welcoming you in. Welcome to our coalition, where we're fighting back for the people, the working men and women who have been shut out of this government, who have been shut out of this process to have the opportunity to get their seat at the table. It's a very terrifying time that we live in. They have just fired 80,000 people from the Department of Veterans Affairs. They're dismantling the Department of Education. They're proposing bills to raise your taxes and cut taxes on the richest among us. In Austin, they're pushing things like eliminating taxes on stock trades. Isn't that what we all have been asking for? As the chairman of the Democratic Party here in Texas, I have to make a point to you. Who here was around in the 90s and the 80s? So you might be able to remember this if you did. Raise your hand if you feel like your taxes are lower now than they were in the 80s and 90s. Raise your hand if you feel like you're safer in your community now than you were in the 80s and in the 90s. Raise your hand if you think that our schools are better today than they were in the 80s and 90s. Raise your hand if you think that our bridges and our roads are better today than they were in the 80s and 90s. Well, the only thing that's different is that the Republicans have been running this state into the ground for 30 years. And preying on culture wars, trying to convince you that immigrants and trans people are the reason that your schools are falling apart. The reason your schools are falling apart is because their donors and their owners have decided that they are worth more than you. The way we rebuild Texas, the way we get it back to the glory where we had the bridges and roads that were the envy of the world, the best schools in the nation, some of the lowest tax rates, which now, by the way, we're in the top 10 highest tax states in the country. The way we get our state back to where it's working for working people is making sure that we're helping all these people behind me today that are organizing for the Democratic Party here in Texas. I'm sorry, if you're not a Democrat, there ain't a party for you except for ours these days. The Republican Party is dead, and we're welcoming you to our coalition. Please respect everyone at the table, and let's fight together to capture and rebuild a democracy that's worthy of the working men and women of this state. My understanding is that we've got a march to do. Is that right, Mr. Chairman? And I'm going to pass the mic over to somebody to instruct you on how to do that. But before I hand that over, I want to thank you and the McLennan County Democratic Party for all of your work putting this sucker together. It's absolutely incredible. An honor to be here. An honor to serve as the first millennial chair of the Texas Democratic Party. And I'll be here with you every step of the way as we fight to rebuild this state. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody. We're about to go on the march. I just want to say one thing. It's great that we were here. This is beautiful. But we have to follow this up with getting involved. So contact us at mymcdp@gmail.com or 301-7648 is our phone number. You can volunteer, and you must vote. If you didn't register yet, go register and turn out to vote. Now I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl Foster, who's going to lead us on the march.
Thank you so much for coming. This is awesome. I'm so sorry Talarico wasn't here. Y'all missed it. But here's what. He's down in Austin fighting for our public schools. He's not playing golf somewhere, right? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to march over to the suspension bridge. We're going to go across the suspension bridge. We're going to go left because we will not go right. We're going to get to Washington Avenue. We're going to take another left because we are still not going to go right. Stay on the sidewalk. Be safe. And thank you for coming. Deanna, cut it loose. Let's go. This is what democracy
talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just wait.